Karbala, 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 your Lord drew you upon every eye. Karbala, 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 your name flows with every tear and cry. Karbala, Karbala.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء وسيد المرسلين وحبيب إله العالمين أبي القاسم محمد وعلى آل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين منتجبين المنتخبين المظلومين الغرر الميامين سيما بقية الله في العرضين وحجته على الخلائق أجمعين سيدنا وإمام زماننا وصاحب نعمتنا وولي الأمرنا مهدي هذه الأمة وتوس أهل الجنة الحجة ابن الحسن العسكري فداه وأرواح العالمين. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Respected brothers and sisters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It's been quite a long time since I've made a video, so just to let you guys know, Message of Karbala is back and I've got a list of people that I'm going to refute. Today on the refute list is Raheem Green, who is a convert to Sunni or Wahhabi Islam, and he's got a video on YouTube which is called Raheem Green, a message to the Shia. Now he says something in there that whilst I was watching it I thought, okay, this is not right and this deserves a refutation, and me being the defender of the madhab of the Ahlul Bayt, I've created a refutation and this is going to be it. So we're going to begin by listening to his statement.
The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, when he gave a khutbah, he gave a sermon, and the companions began, their hearts were moved, and they began to cry, and they began to feel as if the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was saying goodbye to them, as if it was a farewell sermon. So one of them stood up and said, "O Messenger of Allah, it seems to us as if this is a farewell sermon, so advise us."
Mr. Green establishes that the Prophet was stood before the Muslim nation addressing them, and during his khutbah a random man stands up and says, "O Messenger of Allah, advise us." Why is this person standing up and saying advise me in the middle of a sermon? The Prophet is already advising the nation. Why the need for this man to stand up? Now, do you know what it's telling me? That's telling me that your statement lacks authenticity. Let's see what else he says.
They were waiting, hoping for some precious piece of advice from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that if he was to leave them at that moment, there would be something they could hang on to. And so these were the words of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He said, "I advise you to fear Allah. I advise you to fear Allah, and to hear and obey your Amir, even if he is an Abyssinian slave." So he said, cling to my sunnah and the sunnah of the Khulafa ar-Rashideen, the rightly guided successors, and bite it with your molar teeth. Bite it, and beware of the newly invented matters in the religion. This was the advice of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He didn't just say cling to my sunnah, but he also mentioned the sunnah of the Khulafa ar-Rashideen, the rightly guided successors, which means, of course, first and foremost, Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, and then Umar ibn al-Khattab, and Uthman ibn Affan, and Ali ibn Talib. These first and foremost are the Khulafa ar-Rashideen.
He attributes a statement to have been uttered by the Prophet, which is to follow the Sunnah, as in to follow Rasulullah's Sunnah. So Rasulullah is saying, after me follow my Sunnah, and then the Sunnah of the Khulafa ar-Rashideen. So now this is the first time I've ever heard this statement, so a couple of points have come to my mind that I would like to address. Is that what is the definition of Khulafa ar-Rashideen firstly? Now, he has already explained this. He says that the Khulafa ar-Rashideen, and then he mentions 4 specific names in order. Those names are Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman, and then Ali. So he says Khulafa ar-Rashideen, Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman, Ali. So now my question is, when the Prophet allegedly had uttered this statement that follow the sunnah of the Khulafa ar-Rashideen, did he expand on who the Khulafa ar-Rashideen are? at the statement of Ghadir? Did the Prophet actually expand? Or did he just say, follow my sunnat and follow the sunnat of the Khulafa Rashidin, and then stop talking? So that's my first statement I'd like to bring to my viewers' attention, is that according to Abdul Raheem, if Rasulullah is saying follow the sunnat of the Khulafa Rashidin, did he actually expand and say who the Khulafa Rashidin are? And I challenge anyone to bring forward this narration with these four names, Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman and Ali, mentioned together with the word Khalifa. I challenge you, because I know you won't be able to bring this. So to conclude on this point, all I'm saying is that he's saying Rasulullah said, follow the Khulafa Rashidin sunnat after me. I've never heard this before. I'm sure most of you have never heard this before. And I challenge anyone to bring me this hadith. If Rasulullah mentioned his successors on the day of Ghadir, basically now we're going to take his statement, which is, follow the sunnat of the Khulafa Rashidin. Now a couple of points are coming into my mind, right? This is what I'm going to discuss now. So number one, according to Abdul Raheem, is that if Rasulullah mentioned his successors on the day of Ghadir, if he actually said, follow the sunnat of the Khulafa Rashidin after me, why did Umar and Abu Bakr and the Muhajirin and the Ansar gather at Saqifa and appoint and debate and dispute and argue amongst themselves to elect a successor? Hadn't Rasulullah already elected a successor by saying these four Khulafa Rashidin? So my first point is, if Rasulullah said follow the sunnat of the Khulafa Rashidin after him, why was there a meeting at Saqifa? Okay, that's my first point. Secondly, there is a hadith which is not deniable. It is narrated in Bukhari, hadith number 6796, and narrated in Sahih Muslim, hadith number 1821, where the Prophet said there will be 12 Khalifas after me, as in 12 leaders, 12 successors, 12 princes after me, and they will all be from the tribe of Quraysh. So isn't this a contradiction? Because according to your understanding, is Khulafa Rashidin refers to 4 individuals, and then there's a hadith in Bukhari and Muslim where Rasulullah is saying, after me there will be 12 leaders. Is Rasulullah contradicting himself? Are you saying that on the one hand, Rasulullah is saying, after me there will be 12 leaders, they will all be from Quraysh. And then at Ghadir he's saying, after me follow the sunnat of the Khulafa Rashidin, which according to your understanding is 4. So here there is a contradiction. Both can't be right. And according to Ijma, the hadith which has been mentioned in Bukhari, Muslim and many of the Shia books of hadith as well, is that there will be 12 Khalifas after me and they will all be from Quraysh. If according to you, the Prophet had already chosen 4 leaders for this ummah, then why was there different forms of elections of successors? I mean, you see with Abu Bakr it came to Saqifa, which was like just basically a couple of men getting together and saying, I want to be the leader, no, I want to be the leader, no, follow me, follow me, follow me. And then a single nomination, which was Abu Bakr electing Umar himself, and then a consensus, where Umar, when it was time for him to leave this world, instead of appointing someone, he just said, 6 people get together, have a shura, discuss amongst yourselves, and whoever you guys think is the best person, elect him as your successor. So if Rasulullah had already elected 4, why is there so many different forms of election here? I mean, there's a consensus, there's a Saqifa, there's a nomination. What's going on here? And then I'd also like to mention that if Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa wasallam had indeed mentioned Abu Bakr, then Umar, then Uthman, then Ali ibn Abi Talib, then why did Umar, a point I've just mentioned, why did Umar appoint a group of people to have a shura and to elect his successor? If Rasulullah had already said the Khulafa Rashidin, it doesn't make sense. According to you, Rasulullah is saying something and then you are not even abiding by what Rasulullah is saying. And another point that that I've written down is that if the Prophet said, follow the sunnah of me, then he said, follow the sunnah of the Khulafa Rashidin. Is the sunnah of the Khulafa Rashidin different from the sunnah of the Prophet? Why mention 2 separate sunnahs? I mean, if we're going to follow the sunnah of Umar, for example now, right, because he is the 2nd Khalifa, and according to you, Rasulullah said this. So if we're going to follow the sunnah of Umar, let me refer you to an incident known as the Calamity of Thursday. If you look at Sahih al-Bukhari, now I have Sahih al-Bukhari in my hand right now. So if you have a look, this is Sahih al-Bukhari, volume 1, This is printed in Beirut, Lebanon. And so this is Sahih al-Bukhari in Arabic, printed in Beirut, Lebanon, volume 1, page 37. And what does it say? This that I am holding in front of me now, and the reference that I have just given you, it states that the Prophet said, "Bring for me something that I can write with, so that you don't go astray after me." Upon hearing this, Umar said that the Prophet is delusional with illness. We have the book of Allah, which is sufficient for us. Then dispute arose, and the Prophet said, "Leave me." And this is narrated in Sahih al-Bukhari. So now, my question is, according to Sahih al-Bukhari, Umar has just disrespected the Prophet. He's called him delusional, he's called him mad, and he has disrespected and disobeyed a direct command from Rasulullah. Who is Rasulullah? He is a person who doesn't utter a word until Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reveals revelation unto him. So these two sunnahs here that you apparently are asking us to follow, the sunnah of Rasulullah, then the sunnah of the Khulafa Rashidin, contradict each other. So we're not going to follow it like that. Khulafa Rashidin, according to the Sunni perspective, refers to 4 individuals. So my question is, if according to the Sunni doctrine, the concept of Khilafat is from Allah, right? And it is not our opinion, and we're not allowed to elect the way we're allowed to elect, then does that not contradict the Sunni Aqidah? Because when I've had many Sunni Shia debates, and whenever I ask a Sunni to prove to me the Khilafat of Abu Bakr, they refer to the Quran, chapter 42, which is known as Surah Ash-Shura, verse 38, in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَأَمْرُهُمْ شُورَ بَيْنَهُمْ, and the matter is for the gathering. They say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not elect a successor. The Prophet himself does not elect a successor. In fact, what they're saying is we can have a consensus among ourselves and we can elect whoever we want. If this is your belief, that Allah doesn't elect successors and Rasulullah doesn't elect them, and we can elect them ourselves, when Rasulullah is saying follow the sunnah of the Khulafa Rashidin, you've just contradicted your own beliefs. You've just said Rasulullah has elected. So that's a huge contradiction in your beliefs. And referring back to the calamity of Thursday, when Umar said Hasbuna Kitab Allah, that the book of Allah or the Quran is enough for us or sufficient for us, it clearly means he is rejecting the Sunnah. Now you see, Rasulullah has given the Quran to us. On that Thursday, he was asking for a pen and a paper. Umar turns around and says, no, the Prophet is delusional and mad, we don't want his statement, we don't want to give him a pen and a paper. So in fact what you're saying is that when Umar said Hasbuna Kitab Allah, it clearly means that he is rejecting the Sunnah. So you're, Abdul Raheem Green, are saying that Rasulullah said, after me, follow the Sunnah of the Khulafa Rashidin, and the Khulafa Rashidin are saying the Quran is enough. So that's another contradiction. And now we're just going to listen to something that he says right here.
And of course, the house of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which includes his wife Aisha and Fatima and whoever else the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam included as his house.
Okay, so now you've seen that he mentioned the Ahlul Bayt, but he didn't mention them by name. He said the Khulafa Rashidin, Sunnah of the Khulafa Rashidin, and then he said, oh, and the people of the house, and the wife Aisha, and Fatima, and whoever else the Prophet included in his Ahlul Bayt in his house. Why didn't you mention Ali, Fatima, Hassan, Hussein? Do you have some sort of enmity towards the Ahlul Bayt? Does the Ahlul Bayt not deserve your mention and your respect? I mean, if you're going to refer to something, at least refer to it properly. And we're going to go back to his video now.
And then the righteous companions and the people of knowledge, people like Abdullah ibn Abbas, Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, Abu Huraira, and many other of the companions. These are the ones the Prophet told us to hang on to their example. When we see differing, we must always refer it back to Allah and His Messenger. Not our whims, not our opinions, not our desires, not our intellect, but before anything we refer, always, when we have a disagreement about anything, we must refer it back to Allah and His Messenger.
Okay, so you heard what he said. What he's done right now is he's referred to the Quran, but he hasn't taken the whole verse. He's taken a verse and he's left the beginning and he's left the end and he's picked the middle part of this verse and he's just referring to that. How do I know this? If you look at the Quran in Surah Nisa, which is chapter 4 verse 59, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Ati Allah wa ati Rasul wa aril amri minkum, and then Rasulullah is saying that Allah is saying that if you dispute upon something, refer it back to Allah and the Prophet. So first, my question is, why are you quoting half a verse? And if you really want to refer things back to Allah and back to the Prophet, then you'll see that to follow the sunnah of the Khulafa Rashidin is not something that Allah intended and is not something that the Prophet said or declared.
And beware of the newly invented matters in the religion.
Okay, now you see what he said. He said, beware of the newly invented matters in religion. Oh, Abdul Raheem Green, what are you referring to? When you refer to the newly invented matters of religion, are you referring to the Sunnah of Umar where he invented Tarawih, where he changed the hands in prayer, where he made additions to the Azan, where he made prohibition to the laws of God? You're right. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Rasulullah said, beware of the newly invented matters in religion, you're right. Beware of the newly invented religion, the matters in religion such as Umar ibn al-Khattab, who changed the religion of Rasulullah. The Sunnah of Umar contradicts the Sunnah of Rasulullah. So you can't say follow the Sunnah of Rasulullah and then say follow the Sunnah of Umar ibn al-Khattab. And now finally, to conclude this video, basically one more point that I'd like to make and then we're going to conclude this video now, is what Abdul Raheem Green is referring to during this whole video is known as Ghadir Khub. Okay, the farewell pilgrimage where Rasulullah said certain things. Now he is saying that Rasulullah said, after me, follow the sunnah of the Khulafa Rashidin. So now he's talking about Ghadir, right? So he is saying, Rasulullah is saying, I am leaving you the Quran and I am leaving you my sunnah and I am leaving you the sunnah of the Khulafa Rashidin. But that is made up. Rasulullah didn't even say that. When in actuality, what Rasulullah did say was, and now for my Sunni viewers, we are going to refer to Jami at-Tirmidhi. So just gotta look at that book. This is Jami at-Tirmidhi, which is one of the Sahih, which is one of the 6 most authentic books of the Ahl Sunnah wal Jamaat. This is narrated by Mohammed bin Isa Tirmidhi, and we are going to look at volume number 2 of Jami at-Tirmidhi. Volume number 2. And we are going to look at page number 736, and we are going to look at hadith number 1322. So I've given you guys the full reference here. What does it say? It is narrated by Zayd bin Arqam that Rasulullah said, I am leaving something amongst you. If you adhere to this, you will not be led astray after me. From the 2 things, one is weightier than the other. The book of Allah, which is a rope stretched from the heavens to the earth, and my family, the Ahlul Bayt. Both of these 2 will not separate until they reach me by the fountain of Kawthar, and be aware of how you treat these 2 things after me. This is what Rasulullah said. He didn't say follow my sunnat and follow the sunnah of the Khulafa Rashidin. He said follow the book of Allah and follow my family, the Ahlul Bayt. So this is basically Abdul Raheem Green done, exposed, refuted, and inshallah we will look for more people to refute. Thank you very much for viewing. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.